Great day, everybody. It is DK here. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the mindset shift. You know, for me, mindset has been my superpower. You know, listen, admittedly, I'm not the smartest person in the world. You know, people often think that DK, MK, they have like these super high IQs and, you know, they are people that just, they're naturally gifted to be able to produce, you know, a business like we have and a lifestyle like we have. And it's just not the case. Like, this is a byproduct of the mindset, and the mindset only as a foundation to who we are as individuals. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with maybe a little to do with DNA and some entrepreneurial talent. But overall, listen, the idea for you to live a successful life is to control your inner world. I talk about it all the time. Okay, your attitude, your effort, and your belief. I call this the mindset, the inner world. Or rather, for those of you who are like, dude, I hear mindset all the time. It's not clicking for me. All right, maybe this will click for you. What is a mindset? It is the set of your mind. Think about it that way. It is a set of principles, of beliefs that you as a human being adhere to, regardless of the external environment and the external circumstances. And especially when you know what hits the fan. It's a set of your mind, a set of beliefs that allows you to navigate these tough waters. And everyone, it has not been an easy ride for me. Let me share a personal story with you. Before I do that, I would like to just kind of lead with a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche. For those of you who don't know Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher, and he said, life is mostly suffering, and survival is how you deal with the suffering, or something along those lines. Buddha also said, he said, life is suffering, right? And so we can't think that everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, because it's not. Life is mostly tragic. I mean, it's been an extremely tragic year for me personally, and not to get too somber on you, but death has just riddled my life this year, from my father passing away in January, and then my two German shepherds that I love dearly. They were 12 years old. They passed away within a very short time frame of each other. And then I had Morgan's grandfather, who was very near and dear to the family, the patriarch of the family. He passed away. We had a friend, our former nanny, her husband, Mike Steiner, had passed away. R.I.P. Mike Steiner. We love and miss you, buddy. And he was 34 years old. And it's like, sometimes we don't get to choose the events that happen to us in life, and it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility. And we get the opportunity to choose how we set up our belief system, our set of our mind. And so through that lens, I'm going to share this personal story with you of suffering, because I've been through a lot of it in my life. And I think it's teed up me to do what I'm doing today, because like Nietzsche said, it's about survival is about how you handle the suffering, not about suffering itself, or not about bypassing the suffering or trying to get rid of it. It's about embracing it and then having a set of your mind that allows you to control the narrative in your inner world, your attitude, your effort, and your belief. And so not only have I had an incredibly difficult year with friends and family members, it's the ultimate form of suffering, but also I've been conditioned to be able to be the shoulder to lean on during these times, because I've had a background where suffering was just the norm. You know, let me give you a quick story from when I was a little boy. So it started when my mom and I fled Michigan. I say fled intentionally because she left my father, and I do not blame her for taking me away from him at the time. And we went to Mississippi, and then we got kicked out of the house we were living in there. And then we went to California and got kicked out of the house we were living in there. And then, Arizona. And then we went to California and to Washington State and back to California, and, you know, all over the map basically, right? And lived in, like, I don't remember exactly how many homes, but it was multiple schools, maybe 10 to 12, you know, upwards of like 15 to 20 homes. And we were just constantly moving all the time. There's a period of time where we were living, my mom and I, my little brother, were just living out of the car because we didn't have a place to stay. We had places to go, but we didn't have a place to call home. We didn't have a place to necessarily rest our head. I didn't have a bedroom, let's say. And so as a little kid during these formative years, I mean, I'm 10 to 12, 2 to 10, somewhere in there. And when all this is going down, and for me, understanding that these are the formative years, you don't really know how to handle it when you're that young. But what happens is you look back on it, you use your memory, right? God gave us some memory so that we can look back, replay the tape and say, hey, what were those years for? How did those years shape me? How did that suffering lead to the character that I've built today? And to me, this is very, very important in my life, because without those periods of time, I don't think I'm able to handle things today like the pandemic. When our gyms, we had 275 gyms and they all closed down. I had to make the call personally. We all remember this, right, Burn Nation? And at the end of the day, I was equipped for that. Now, I didn't like it. It still hurt very deeply. There was still a lot of sorrow and there was still a lot of uncertainty on what the future would hold. But being conditioned to have a set of my mind, right? A belief system that said, hey, the pandemic is the catalyst for you guys to get to the next level, right? That's a whole different mindset. And I don't think I ever develop that unless, I go through those things early on in life. And so a lot of times I share these stories with you because a lot of times what we do is we take our past and we do play the tape back, but we go backward, and instead of justifying, and using our mind for what I believe it's for, is to go back and justify why things aren't your fault, but your responsibility, right? We go back and we say, hey, this is my fault. It's nothing I can do about it. This is who I am. You can have your set of mind believe one of those two things, okay? But you can't believe them both. And so your mindset is very binary, everybody. It's very binary, meaning like it's either positive or it's negative. It's either optimistic or it's pessimistic. You either have a excitable outlook for the future, an enthusiastic, view of where you're going, or you're looking in the rearview mirror and you're timid and you're scared. There's no such thing as life in between. And your mindset is the foundation to your entire life. And so I just wanted to get on here today and share with you guys a little bit about my mindset, some things that had happened to me in my life, and how I think about handling situations. And so listen, if you haven't had the privilege of going through pain, if you haven't had the privilege of going through the suffering, if you haven't had privilege to be forced by way of your environment to overcome these things, well then I actually think you're in a worse position than somebody like me was in, who just had absolutely nothing, right? Because you grow up and you have amazing parents, but they have a flawed mindset. The set of their mind is not very strong. Now, they mean well, right? They're not physically abusive. They're not emotionally or mentally abusive. They just don't have a strong mindset. They don't know how to handle suffering. And then they pass that on to you. And because they're amazing and you love them, you don't question it, right? And you just take what mom and dad give you and then you run with it. Okay, here's my call to action for our podcast today. Have you questioned your past? Have you questioned your mindset? Have you questioned the things that have been installed in your brain by the influences in your life? Ooh, that's a deep question. All right, I'm going to leave you with that today. I want you to take it serious, and then I want you to really answer those questions, right? Am I living the life that I'm designing, or am I living the life that somebody else has designed for me? Woo, we get esoteric on the podcast today, everybody, all philosophical like. So thank you for being here. Listen, I'm so excited that you are. Make sure that you're subscribing, because we are just putting so much on this channel for you to inspire, empower, and transform your life. And until next time, 2 claps on 2, 1, 2.